Hi, folks. Welcome back to the Great Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Calvin Smith, and this is where we discuss 5 big topics. The gospel, relevance, evangelism, apologetics, and training for Christians, all in relation to the truth of God's word in Genesis as the seedbed of all Christian doctrines. What we're going to be discussing here today is as incredible as it sounds, flying squid. And this is going to continue our 7-part series here on Great Conversations called Amazing Animals. And this is part 3 of 7. What I'm really hoping to do here is just really make you understand that the truth of God's word is evident all around us in his creation, regardless of what the story of evolution is constantly promoting. And during the series, we're going to give you a question that you can pose to your family and friends who don't know the Lord, perhaps someone who does, but that's kind of bought into evolution, just to open up some conversations with those around you. And we'll give that to you at the end of each episode. Now, when I was a kid, seeing James Bond, Ian Fleming's iconic action hero, kind of dispatch these villains with tricky martial arts techniques and gimmicky gadgets. He's got his trusty Walther PPK. That was kind of an exciting afternoon diversion for me growing up, right? And of course, he had these exotic modes of transportation. They never failed to inspire hours of make-believe action, me playing in my dad's car outside. And especially one of the most favorite was the modified Lotus Esprit used in the 1977 film, The Spy Who Loved Me, that famously transformed from sports car to submarine, complete with, rear-firing windshield mud, kind of a sleek silhouette, had some underwater missiles. And in reality, there were actually 8 different vehicles used in the filming because, of course, no vehicle contained the complex design necessary to operate in both environments. It was either one or the other, land or sea. However, the idea of this hybrid sports car submarine kind of blew my mind as a young kid. Now, this fun fact leads me to another childhood pastime that my cousins in Newfoundland introduced me to, and that was squidding. And for those of you who have participated in a slightly more elegant method of catching squid out in a boat with jiggers and hooks and nets and stuff like that, you might not relate to this as well, to the rather ignoble method that I was initiated into. But my first catch was after dark in the shallows off the bay in Roberts Arm, Newfoundland, where my cousin Dale and I simply ran into the sea, reached into the water, and threw them unceremoniously over our shoulders towards shore, and often having them thud off the shoulders, head, or chest of whoever was behind one another at the time, and there was ink squirting everywhere. And, later we'd be gathering them up and looking at them a little more closely. And, as amazing a creature as the squid is, with all of its intricacies, it's got these 10 tentacles, a bird-like beak, and streamlined kind of silver chassis. The last thing that I ever thought I would discover is that this underwater marvel was dually designed to fly. Now, you heard that right. Certain squid species can launch themselves out of the water to soar above the ocean for distances up to 160 feet and up to 11.2 meters per second. And to understand how impressive that is, remember that the fastest man ever recorded, Olympic Games gold medal winning Usain Bolt, averaged 10.44 meters per second. So considering Bolt has been clocked at 44.72 kilometers per hour, perhaps we should coin the phrase faster than a speeding squid. Fabled accounts of this flying ability has been described for centuries, with many seafarers and watercraft aficionados reporting random squids occasionally appearing on decks, seemingly out of nowhere. And researchers had long suspected there was something strange about them, as they seemed to somehow be able to migrate faster to various locations than their calculated underwater speeds allowed for. But the credibility of their supposed flying ability was downplayed because of their physique. However, videos have captured flying squids several times now, leading scientists to determine the specific actions that squids perform to enable flight. They accelerate 5 times faster in air than in the water. And their 4 phases of flight are launching, jetting, gliding, and diving. So by filling up and then forcing out water from their inflated mantles at high velocities, squids propel themselves like rockets up and out of the ocean. And then once above the water, they contort themselves into an aerodynamic design. Their fins catch the air like wings, and these webbed tentacles curl, creating flat surfaces that enable them to glide on air currents like a well-made paper airplane. And groups of more than 20 squid have been seen flying together. And their flight patterns aren't simply passive, but they're actively guided as they change posture based on the distance from the water and whatever the phase of flight they're in. And when ready to re-enter the water, they simply fold back their fins and tentacles, and they just minimize their impact and begin swimming immediately. So as hard as it might be to imagine your favorite calamari soaring overhead by simply watching them swimming around or while served up on your plate, well, your favorite food isn't just an underwater creature. It's a master of the air, too. But how could these creatures have acquired such incredible design engineering and the integrated genetic programming to enable them to master multiple environments? Well, interestingly, futuristic engineer and business magnate Elon Musk of Tesla fame, he bought one of the 8 original Esprit prop vehicles, specifically the underwater version, nicknamed Wet Nelly, that was used in the Spy Who Loved Me film. And he purchased it for nearly $1 million. And he got that from a couple who'd found it in a blind auction of an unclaimed storage unit for only $100 some 20 years earlier. And apparently, I wasn't the only one impressed by Bond's car growing up, because Musk said this: "It was amazing as a little kid in South Africa to watch James Bond and the Spy Who Loved Me drive his Lotus Esprit off a pier, press a button, and have it transform into a submarine underwater." And in 2013, Musk explained to the Autoblog Jalopnik why he purchased it. He said, "What I'm going to do is upgrade it with a Tesla electric powertrain and make it transform for real." Well, so far, Tesla says that they have a design, but they haven't produced anything yet. However, Tesla's team is truly impressive, so I guess we're going to have to wait and see. But even if they do pull off this marvel of engineering, what exactly would it prove? It would prove that something so incredibly sophisticated needs incredibly gifted minds, the best of the best, all working together to design and manufacture it. The brain power required to do it would be truly impressive, yet it would absolutely pale in comparison to all that a humble squid can do. Understand, I'm not downplaying Musk's genius or his various companies' teams' capabilities. He's got that SpaceX aerospace company, Regardless of what one might think of Elon's worldview, his Starship initiative to develop spaceships capable of interplanetary travel and transportation, well, it's truly brilliant and it's very ambitious. And the technology involved is absolutely cutting edge. However, without getting into any of the trove of biological technology packed into the simple squid, you've got bioluminescence, you've got camouflage, you've got hunting strategies, migratory programming, and much, much more. Let's just consider one thing that all living things can do that his starships can't. They can't reproduce themselves. Not to sound trite, but I'm sure Elon would love to, make a mommy spaceship and a daddy spaceship and give them some alone time, and then they'd have a fleet of spaceships pop out. But he can't, and neither can anyone else on the planet. Only God has ever made something that can make copies of itself. And yet to even invoke Christ, the Creator, in conversation within the average Canadian high school classroom, let alone university, would likely lead to scoffing and mockery, if not outright outrage. The teaching of naturalistic evolution has become so commonplace that belief in God is considered taboo in Western culture. Unfortunately, many Christian leaders have been so browbeaten by this barrage of humanistic teaching that many have bowed the knee and endorsed it, further increasing the boldness of secularists and furthering its acceptance. Those Christians who've compromised with evolutionary ideas should remember that the very reason people are without excuse is due to what God created, not what he supposedly evolved or allowed to evolve. For his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made, so that they are without excuse. This week's question is for theistic evolutionists, Christians who believe God used evolution. How could people be held accountable to knowledge of God, by what he made, per Romans 1:20, if the creation appears to have made itself, i.e. evolved? If you're appreciating this content, Please visit the AnswersInGenesis.ca website. Consider donating to the ministry. And of course, whatever platform you're accessing this on most likely has some combination of features that allow you to subscribe or like or share or do a review. And we'd really appreciate you taking the time to do that, because it's probably the best thing that you can do to help us continue to do outreach. So until next time, I'm Cal Smith. Blessings to you and yours.